It says up there on the screen that it's Darren Pereira, who's the co-founder and president of Indus Blue. But what we actually have here is Dayton, not just Darren with a shave. So are you the co-founder and
creative director?
And creative director, all right. So you're going to have to shift your expectations a little bit for that. But these guys, I was at their studio a few weeks ago, and these guys spit out awesome sauce like crazy. They're doing lots of cool stuff. And we're going to see a user-generated example of branded entertainment here around a brand that a few of you in the room might have heard of, Hockey Night in Canada.
Okay, so one of the things that we wanted to do, I'll just sort of talk a little bit about what the project was in its essence. It was the idea of making editors out of ordinary consumers for a brand that we absolutely love, Hockey Night in Canada, a project that we did with CBC and sponsored by Rogers. Essentially, what CBC came to us with was tons and tons of archival content and highlight reels and whatnot of hockey content that they've actually had since the 1950s. And what they wanted to do was create an opportunity for users to be able to remix all of that content and generate new videos and new content. And at the same time, obviously, monetize the entire experience. So what we did was we ended up creating the next slide. CBC's Hockey Night mashup for Rogers. And if you just go to the next slide, I'll just show you really quickly what the user experience is. It's essentially, in essence, it's a video editor very similar to what you'd see with iMovie or Windows Movie Maker, not unlike Final Cut Pro, obviously not Pro. But it's basically the idea of being able to take great hockey content from a spectrum of, from the 60s all the way up to now, and be able to remix that and generate new content out of it, add new soundtracks to it with some really great artists that Rogers actually brought up with the lineup, from Fall Out Boy to I don't know who else, but just an amazing library of audio content that people could then remix and then publish that new content onto their website. I think over a 12-week period, we had about 35,000 videos that were generated. File Mobile, who's probably in the audience here, did an amazing job of actually helping us. We worked together with them to develop the media management side of things, and to actually publish all that content. And of course, Rogers had the opportunity to monetize the entire experience by serving pre-roll ads and post-roll ads and all kinds of other ads, and just be able to create a really great community around content out of a sport that is so loved by Canada. So there is no video, so there's no more after this.
That's a refreshing change of pace. Thank you for that. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to start into a bit of a discussion. I was at a session in this room right before lunch where Chris Krug was moderating, and he kind of moved around and got the whole thing going really interactively. So as aforementioned, I drank the energy juice, so I'm ready to move around, and I'm going to kind of do the Banana Republic version of what it was that he did earlier on for any of you who were here. So just to start things off, if at any point in time anybody has any questions, we want you to jump in, but we do have plans to sort of talk about all the things that we think you're going to be interested in. We actually did think about this. We weren't just out drinking last night. So yeah, I wanted to start because we saw a lot of different angles on branded entertainment there. And one thing that I think is common among all of them is that there's a lot of players involved. So I wanted to start with you, Matt, because we talked about this when I visited your offices to prepare for the panel. And we just talked about there's a real balance between the content that you want to create and having integrity within that content. In your case, you brought in actual talent, and they obviously had a brand of their own that needed to be maintained. But then you also have, of course, the brand that you're creating this entertainment for. So can you talk a little bit about that balance, and anyone else who really wants to kind of jump in off that, please go ahead.
Sure. I think one of the great things about how that all came together was one of our creative teams had been following Rhett and Link just because of their videos, and so they're already on the radar as kind of trying to find an opportunity to work with them. And so when this came up, and the Alka-Seltzer and the idea of going to all these chili fests, and we called them up and said, hey, here's what we're thinking. Do you guys want to get involved in this? And just kind of talking through the idea with them, they just took it to a whole other level that we hadn't even thought of just because of their perspective on things. So it was a really collaborative process where the creative team kind of came up with the initial idea, those guys really blew it out, and then collectively, our teams and Rhett and Link, went in to kind of sell it into the client and take it into make it a much bigger thing. Because I'm not sure if you caught it in the video, but the client actually did just say, you know what, we think our consumers are dying off. Basically, we need to hit a younger market. We think we need a website, and so they were expecting us to come back with some mock-ups of a website and kind of coming in with Rhett and Link, who are great storytellers, and kind of talking about how this could work. They got really excited about it.
Great, and I think maybe you can talk a little bit as well about kind of the talent side of things. Jesse, maybe any thoughts on maintaining that integrity while you're trying to work in with brands and
I'm
do
just pissed that he didn't hire my talent.
Okay, we're going to try and not fight. The panel's had some disagreements in the past, and Ari's got a bit of a power trip down there out of LA, so...
We're not going to hug it out, bitch.
I know.
We'll do some womanscaping with Beyonce.
Yeah, there you go, right? We get a lot of opportunities like this. I think the thing that I really loved about your example actually is that you're going and you're finding kind of that authentic talent that is online and lives where your audience is and that you're trying to reach. And seeing that start to happen more and more, I'm actually starting to represent some of those people as well. I've got this kid, Mark Malkoff, who lived in the IKEA for a week, who's now living on an airplane. He's day 5 of living on an airplane for a month to promote AirTrans and the fact that they have wireless, and after that, he may be going out with Ford for a month, So I love the opportunity that we're seeing here. At the same time, it makes it a little bit more difficult for some of my talent because I think the other aspect that probably helped you sell this through was a budgetary one. You're not coming to me for Beyonce for $1 million a day or whatever it is that she earns, or whomever. These kids, I feel old when I say that, but they will do a lot for a lot less. And they put a lot more effort into the production. They put a lot of the money into the production, and I love the bang for the buck that you get. At the same time, the trailer that I showed you for the project has no talent in it other than these 2 guys who are off the street and have no kind of presence in Hollywood. And the only way that, as good as it is, and the series will look phenomenal, we have to stunt cast it. Because to get heard above the freight, you need to have some hook, whether that's celebrity or a large muscle behind it, a marketing muscle behind it.
Well,
So, go ahead.
I think that's really key to when you talk about these internet-specific talents like the Rhett and Links. You look at them, and it took them a long time to build an audience on their own. So certainly, they definitely have credibility from being in the space, but in getting to know them, the slog they've gone through to build their audience. They were certainly interested in working with us because it then exposed them to other revenue opportunities too.
Absolutely.
So,
Well, and an interesting thing I think with the online talent is that not only do they bring a lot of energy and a lot of talent, a lot of times they bring a lot of audience with them, and incorporating them into your story can actually work a lot like a media buy. Like if you're bringing 50 million YouTube views and 100,000 subscribers, it's not much different from a traditional media buy in a lot of ways.